We have a couple of important announcements to make. So first of all, as you guys should be well aware, we have a monthly raffle. It's our way of thanking you guys for participating and being active in the club. So when you fill out our sign-in forms, you get an entry for a VIP member. You get double the amount of entries. Anytime we have a general meeting or a social or a workshop or guest speaker event, whatever it is, we will usually have these sign-in forms. At the end of the month, we will hold a raffle with 3 prizes in a first-come, first-served basis for the first 3 names we draw from the spin the wheel we do with all the names of people who have signed in onto forms. It's just a way to get free stuff. So make sure to fill out these sign-in sheets. Here's one right now, for example. How's the stream looking?
How'd that get there?
What now?
Is the stream working still, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Hey, Melvin.
Oh my God, hi Melvin.
This month we're technically not doing a raffle or technically last month, which was January, because we only had 1 meeting, or 2 meetings. No, 1 meeting. 1 meeting in
One
January.
meeting.
So there was no point in doing a raffle. So that extra sign-in sheet from January is going to be added to the February raffle for those who might be wondering what about January. All right. Once all the phones go down, I'm going to assume people are done scanning the QR code. And
Show
move on.
up, it increases your drop rate. You
Yeah.
might get a dragon lore. That's a lie. Nobody's giving out a dragon lore here.
Alright. So as usual, if you help support the club, we also appreciate it. It's $15 per semester, $25 for the year, but we're already in spring. You get T-shirts when you recruit the membership. We do bucket hats, keychains, and pins, and does emote sticker sheets. We actually ordered the upcoming merch, and it'll be revealed the design once it actually gets here. So be ready for that in one of the upcoming meetings. Here's a membership form for people who have not yet already registered on MyBar and with the club. Again, you have to fill this out every semester. It helps us keep track of how many people are in the club, and we're also required to do this. So please make sure to fill out this membership form if you have not yet already.
It carries over for us because we're board members.
We also
All right.
VIP.
We also have an upcoming guest speaker event. Luis Valencia will be speaking to us about speaking to the club about game lifecycle management and distribution platforms. So think like Steam and Epic Game Store and whatnot. It'll be next Tuesday right here in Building 8, Room 4, from 12 to 1 p.m., so our normal meeting time. And it'll also be hosted online through Discord. But we encourage you to show up in person just because it is nicer for you to engage with the speaker and get to ask your questions in person, maybe network
is
a little
this
bit.
person
If you're
even?
Who is this person?
Yeah. Where do they work?
Amazon Games, and that's what I was about to get into. So he talks about a lot of different things, including Amazon Luna and other platforms that he's worked on. That's kind of it about that for now.
Ask him about New World or something.
If you want to, go ahead and show up and ask him about that. Whether or not he has an answer, I do not know. This week's social event will be a game night. So this Friday, we will be doing another
killing
game
Mark.
night social. So this Friday in Building 6, Room 113, which is across the quad that way. We'll post directions in case people get confused. From 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. I don't think there's a class after 5 p.m., so we can technically stay later if we need to. But we'll do the usual. There'll be pizza, various board games, Beyblade snacks, drinks, and other video games that we play on a whim. If you guys have any suggestions for games you want to see there, you could drop them in the general meeting chat or something, and we'll consider it in case that people don't like the selection we already have. Already mentioned that. All right, so now let's talk about what the club is actually meant to do. So what are the goals of the club? First of all, we talk about game design. So game design encompasses all aspects that go into developing a game. You have the programming, the art, the music, the sound effects, the writing, the gameplay, and more. But these are the aspects that we focus on most in the club. The reason we focus on these is because these are the majority of what people tend to interact with when playing a game. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that go into making a game, but they're usually more like cherry on the top topics rather than topics that will be applied like everywhere and have encompass like the majority of what people interact with, like I said. So as for programming, you have various things. You have the game engine you're using, the language, which usually comes coupled with the game engine. Usually game engines have a specific language or maybe languages that they work with. The mechanics that go into your game and other features. The UI UX, so for those who don't know, UI stands for user interface and UX is user experience. Just various things that go into making a game that help kind of essentially allow the user to kind of interact with your game. we'll talk about more the programming more later. Essentially, this is the overview of of things we talk about. For art, we talk about character design, backgrounds, props, concept art. These go into games because obviously the visual presentation of your game is very important when it comes to how your game feels, as well as people like to do storytelling through art. So concept art is usually the stage that you start with, is when you want to get a feel for your game, you need to make essentially art references in forms of sheets or other drawings or 3D models to kind of test out what designs work, what art styles work. Then you move on to doing like things like backgrounds for like settings of your game. Then you do things like plot and character design as you kind of build things out. We'll go into these in more detail in future meetings, but this is just supposed to be a quick overview. Music and sound effects. You have soundtracks for games, sound effects, Foley, and ambience. So the reason we talk about these three in particular, obviously soundtracks are important for games. Most people take note of the fact that games usually have memorable music. Usually it's impactful in the sense that it invokes certain emotions that are supposed to be coupled with the game. Or when it comes to sound effects, they just tend to be very iconic in terms of being very recognizable, that when you hear them, you just think of a certain game. Sound design is one of those things that is usually critically underappreciated in terms of how a game feels, as it is a form of feedback that you get from interacting with the world, and it helps kind of increase the immersion of a game, as well as in general just helps it helps increase the quality of the game. So when it comes to writing, it's something that we probably talk about the least, but we'll be talking about it more in the future. That will encompass story, dialogue, lore, world building, and also actually I think these are the 4 we cover. Yeah, so these are self-explanatory. Stories are like, what is the plot of your game? What are the big major points, events that happen? Dialogue is more so, how do the characters interact with each other? How do these conversations actually unfold? This will be one thing that we will definitely be talking about in an upcoming meeting. Lore is something we already talked about, as well as world building in the previous semester. Essentially, it kind of goes coupled in with the story, but it's more about the background information that kind of set the scene for the plot that you're attempting to convey.
Can you guess who did 66% of this slide?
Yeah.
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah. So our goal is to teach club members how to become well-rounded game designers. That means that we want you guys to have at least a very simple understanding of each of these aspects. Hopefully, we get more than that, but at least by getting an understanding of each aspect, you can better understand the work that goes into making making games, as well as hopefully making your own in the form of taking part of a game pitch or leading a game pitch. As usual, it's not required, but we heavily encourage that you guys do participate in game pitches. So, how do we achieve these goals? We host workshops that delve deeper into each aspect of game design. So we hosted a lot of programming workshops in the past, a few art workshops, a music workshop on occasion, and writing workshops. So our next few workshops will actually focus on intermediate topics and the workflow surrounding these topics. So in the past, we've done like intro to game engine workshops and Git and whatnot. These next few ones will talk about more advanced topics like crafting systems, inventory, different ways to do saving and loading in games, as well as an example project that we'll run through. Those will be upcoming, as well as game pitches. So the game pitches are great hands-on experience for how to make a game and essentially even potentially get it published. So by the end of each semester, each game pitch team will present their MVP to the entire club, or minimum viable product, at the banquet. So what is an MVP? An MVP is essentially just the minimum viable product, which is the core set of features that your game possesses, where if any of those features are removed, your game has lost its identity, or as well as a critical feature to the game where it no longer plays the same. So essentially, it also is the first point where people can truly provide feedback on your game, because if they provide feedback on the other stages, again, they're getting an inaccurate representation of what your game really is, and therefore any feedback can't be properly constructive, if that makes sense. So yeah, as we said earlier, the MVP is just the core features and the bare minimum needed to kind of get the feel for a game. So we usually show this video. I guess we'll be showing it again this semester to keep up with the tradition. So that's the kind of video we show every semester, really. It's a very good explanation of what an MVP is. I would like to add, however, that we do not actually obviously restrict game pitches based off of that list he gives at the end. You can still do whatever game pitch you wish. That list just kind of tells you how much workload you could approximately expect trying to do each of those games. We have gotten some fairly ambitious like action RPGs and stuff in the past, and they turned out perfectly fine. So don't feel afraid to pitch games that are further down that list. Just understand it'll be more work than maybe you're anticipating, and we'll be here to help you out. So here's. Oh.
I was gonna say, shoot, I pitched an FPS, and that's like the bottom of the list for the most difficult ones. So nothing's really stopping you.
Yeah. So don't feel discouraged. Just be mindful is really what it boils down to. This is a list of some of the other videos done by Extra Credits. It's not necessary for you to watch them. They're just there if you want to see them.
It's a little bit outdated, but it's all pretty good core concepts.
Yeah. All right, so now let's move on to what is a game pitch for those who somehow may not know. So our game pitches are something we do every semester, and basically every member is free to pitch a game they'd like to develop for the club. After the game pitches are presented, members will join teams based on those ideas. Obviously, you don't have to join a game pitch, but it's encouraged you do, and you're not limited to just joining one pitch. By the end of the semester, at our club banquet, teams will present their MVPs, and they'll talk about the development process, like any funny bugs they find, any roadblocks they hit, any features that they wanted to implement but couldn't, any features that they did want to implement and actually were able to achieve, so on and so forth. Those details will become clearer as time goes on. Just keep in mind, we're not expecting a fully polished game by the end of the semester. On the rare chance it happens, it's very pleasing to see, but it's not the expectation. It's just like one of those projects that like really stands out. Obviously, we know life in school comes first, and even then, it's just not a realistic expectation for everyone to come up with like AAA games. So a lot of people struggle to make games. Again, that's fair. It's not exactly the easiest thing to do. We are here to help, and it's no big deal if for any reason you can't finish. Even if you just get through to concept art and like the basic outline of your game, that's fine. It's just the fact that you came out and pitch it was more than enough, and it's still something you can put on your resume as something that maybe you can continue working on. Already said that. So how do you pitch a game? Well, you pitch it during our general meeting on February 18th. So that's not next Tuesday, because next Tuesday is our guest speaker event, but the following Tuesday after that is our game pitch meeting. So by then, we'll have met with all the pitch teams, and they'll have filled out their Google Slides presentations or PowerPoint presentations, whatever, and they will show them off to you at that meeting, and you'll get a good overview of what all the game pitches are for this semester. So applications are already open. The deadline actually is February 7th, so this Friday is when the applications for game pitches will close. Here's this part of the meeting. Yeah, we'll speak to you about your game pitch. It's just a little video call just to kind of go over, make sure that the scope and stuff is, we understand exactly what the games are and whatnot. Here's a link to the QR code if you have not already filled it out and are planning on pitching a game. Again, you don't have to feel like you have the whole game basically figured out by the time you pitch. That's what we're kind of here for, so don't feel too discouraged from pitching. Obviously, since game pitches are happening a week later than usual, it'd be nice if you guys kind of got the ball rolling ahead of time, but obviously it's not required. If you just come up to the meeting with just the basic outline of your game and a general idea of what it's looking like after we met with you, that's fine. So what's in a game pitch? Obviously the name of your game. Ideally it has a name. The genre, so whether it's a platformer, an action RPG, puzzle game, whatever. A 2-sentence pitch for your game. It's kind of like an elevator pitch. Obviously it can be a little longer if you have a lot to talk about, but it should go into the section that comes next, which is the full summary of your game. So this will include any relevant plot details of the story, gameplay mechanics, any core features that really set your game apart, as anything that kind of anything like that. Any gameplay features that you want in your MVP. So maybe there are some features that are part of your game that are really unique and interesting, but they're not part of your MVP, but your MVP kind of sets the foundation for those features, whether or not they end up in the game by the end of the semester. Here we have an example of a previous pitch from next semester.
Yes. Well, yours truly. Hello, I'm Vice President. You know me. I pitched Machine Citadel back in spring, so this is going to kind of just go back over that old pitch. So keep in mind this one's a little bit plain, not like the other ones, but somebody's sick, so he can't pitch his old one. At least
What's your
I'm
name
not ready.
again?
I don't know, I forgot.
Same.
So here's Machine Citadel. What is the game? It is a Unreal Engine 5, maybe co-op multiplayer shooter. The idea of the game is you have to break in and hold the objective and draw out the enemy. So the idea is that it's a first-person defense wave-based shooter. The idea originally is that you climb around and maneuver. It's supposed to be a vertical arena. So you need to defend the objective, hitting the critical points. How do you play the game? You shoot the bad guy and don't die, and don't let the thingamajig die, because it's a defense game. What is the game continued? A little bit more on the game is, in other words, it's going to be a steampunk-style first-person / third-person shooter where you take control of the objective and defending against waves of enemies long enough to destroy the tower's production capabilities. The gameplay genres that it fits into are the wave defense, action, shooter game, and enemy horde game. The style genres would be steampunk, industrial, and fantasy. This is the little mini concept trailer I made. Shoot the bad guy. Those are the waves of dead enemies. And for my pitch, I already had a little bit of concept art design for the thingamajig, as mentioned. We did end up going with the design on the right, but you know, it's always a good idea to have a little bit of, at least, you don't have to have a visual concept ready, but, you know, since we're giving you guys a little bit more time, that might be a good idea to start thinking of to, you know, advertise your pitch a little bit better. Style and inspirations for my game. Yes. I was mainly thinking of aesthetic designs that are kind of based off of Dishonored. And maybe BioShock Infinite. I only ever played BioShock 1 and 2, so but I know that Infinite has a pretty steampunk style design. There's also the idea for the technology of the era and the little fantasy elements that you'd get in these games. For the game's play inspirations, since it's supposed to be a horde-based shooter, I was thinking something more like Left 4 Dead or Warframe. Even though that's a little bit more hack and slash, I kind of like the idea that Warframe does have a defense mode, which kind of helps your idea of what kind of defense gameplay it was going to be. The map and environment, the idea for the environment for the game is it's supposed to take place in a factory, so it's going to be very vertical. You have to climb up to get around the objective and hold, better sight lines to hold off, like choke points, that kind of thing. There'll be gaps and opportunities for like platforming or like parkour traversal for the map to make it feel a little bit more satisfying, because it's important that the game feels fun to run around in if you're just going to be sitting in one spot. Gameplay, to go over again, it's a wave-based defense game. I'm hoping to make it co-op. The player will use their unconventional movement to maneuver around the enemy. There should be different enemy variety to keep the players interested and on their toes. It should be challenging and player skills should be rewarded, so I either have weak spots or like a score thing to get that sweet dopamine boost, you know, like the Overwatch, you know, sound when you get a headshot and it's a little bing, you know, that kind of thing. Tools of the sandbox that I planned for my MVP: guns, grenades, sliding, and climbing. And everything else is just kind of stretch goals, so maybe melee, maybe deployable turrets kind of have that tower defense feel. And other stuff you don't really need to worry about for the MVP. What do we need for this project? I need some more programmers. I need some musicians, 3D modelers, UI, level design, programmers, some developers. It's an old one. What do we have for my project ready? I have one programmer, that's me. I have one artist. So yeah, I would need so many more people. The MVP for my game is just a working combat system and a wave, enemy wave system, and something that you defend, and if it dies, you lose the game. And that's all I need for my MVP. Thank you. Here's my Discord server, which I need to reset up. Don't scan it. No, put your phone down.
You can't scan the QR code. You blocked
I
it.
blocked it. What are you doing?
You fool!
Pushing Citadel return.
Think fast.
Announcement flashbang. Here's our. Yes, we have another round of small announcements. Here is the official off-campus arcade social interest form. So this is to kind of see how you guys have your availability and which arcade we're choosing this semester to go to. There's a few options: Dave and Buster's, Boomers, and Round One. I think they're all about like a 20-minute drive from here.
Reasonable distance within campus.
Reasonable distance, I feel.
And we should be providing a few rides for the people who need them. Not like a crazy amount, but there should be a couple of designated drivers.
We'll have more information on this later. This is just kind of the interest form, and if you are like willing to give people rides, we'll have a form for that as well later on.
Yeah.
Just a quick overview: Dave and Buster's is mostly like an arcade and food place. Boomers is also an arcade, but they have stuff like I think they have some rides and maybe bowling. Round One for sure has bowling, but they also have stuff like karaoke and on top of the arcade and other stuff like that. This should be more information on the thing. We'll have this posted in Discord a little bit later.
Yeah. Please be sure to fill it out by Friday so we can get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, we need to like submit those forms in advance. So
Yeah.
please.
Here's just the QR code for our LinkedIn page if you have not yet already joined it. And next is the Steam group QR code. Really quickly, I'd like to mention, obviously for your game pitch, you don't need a whole trailer. That MVP, pitch just happened to have one. We don't expect like anything like that. But the
Mark
more
was having fun.
I was goofing.
the more you do, the better. I just want to make sure people understand that you don't need like all that just to pitch a game.
Just a concrete
Alright.
idea.
I'm extra like
for
that.
your MVP specifically.
Yeah.
You can write down stretch goals, but focus on your MVP.
That
Absolutely.
trailer had nothing to do with the game, to be honest.
Yeah, it was like a mobile game ad.
I know, that's the idea.
Damn,
Alright.
bro, right for the jugular.
My bad. Anyway, so upcoming events
We killed him.
are for this semester. Obviously, we have our game night social again this Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. in Building 6, Room 113. Again, pizza, snacks, so on and so forth. We have another round of game development office hours that later on that night from 7 to 8 p.m. That Friday, again, a lot happening this Friday, is also the submission deadline for game pitches, the formal close, and after that, we'll start reaching out to the people who submitted game pitches to figure out a time to meet. Again, it's nothing crazy. We're not trying to hijack your game or anything. We just need to make sure that everything is going to run smoothly with your pitch. Next Tuesday, on the 11th, we have our guest speaker meeting at our normal club meeting time and place. Please be sure to be there. We'll have like snacks and stuff, and you'll be able to ask a lot of questions. The following Tuesday will be our game pitch meeting, where we'll have then met with all of the people who pitched a game, and you guys will be able to see all the game pitches and join teams and whatnot. Be sure to be there because it's usually a lot of fun, and of course it's good to stay informed on what the pitches actually are, because if you're joining a pitch, ideally you actually know what they need and what the game is. We'll do this little omnibus workshop on the 21st. I'll just go over these 4 topics because they kind of all go hand in hand. It just kind of worked out that way. It'll be in Building 6, Room 113. Anything else? Oh yeah, so the social will happen around week 8, so that's about March 21st, around that time. The Minecraft movie social, the interest form will close soon, so the official time, if it's happening, will be revealed. And then the spring banquet will be on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Ursa Minor. That is effectively the deadline for your game pitch, of course, you need to present it to the club, so keep that in mind. We'll go over how to submit on itch.io and everything close to the deadline. It's just out there so you guys know, have a good timeline, know exactly how much time you have to work on these pitches. Anyway, that's all. Thank you for listening. Here's a sign-in sheet again and a link to our Instagram. If you guys have any questions, please be sure to let us know. And thank you guys for coming.